Hello, everyone. John Bruna here with the Daily Quote. It's really a joy to be with all of you. Let's go ahead and get right to it here. We are constantly surrounded by an astonishing world and incredible people. Unfortunately, it is easy to miss as we get caught up in our own thoughts, worries, and activities. It may be worth shifting our attention to see what is right in front of us. Well, what's right in front of you? Is there something amazing? Right now, if you're listening to this on a podcast or watching on a phone or a computer, you might think, nothing that astonishing. But it's amazing when we pay attention to life that we have, to the opportunity to even have access to the things that we have in our lives. And this morning I was really thinking about a piece of bread for toast. How many people are involved in this bread? Where did it come from? A piece of bread that I get to eat that will nourish me, that allow me, hopefully, to be of benefit to others. A piece of bread. Well, when I take a moment and think about it, there's a whole industry of farming, of people that had to figure out how to plant and harvest wheat and all the different grains that are available to eventually find its way into a place that can put the ingredients together to bake bread. And you start to think about how many lives were involved. The whole industry of people and working on farms and people that built the tractors and the harvesting equipment and the processing equipment and all the people who built that equipment and their lives and how that income supported their families, their hopes, their dreams, their struggles, and how those ingredients found its way to a place that's going to put it together to bake bread, to the workers there, to the ovens and the equipment and the people that built those ovens and the equipment and the people that sold them and the whole process and industry around that equipment and the buildings they're in and who built those buildings, and start to think about where just the resources to build those buildings, and even things like nails, how many nails were in those buildings and how did those nails get formed and how many people are involved. And I'm not even to the ovens yet and the baking and the slicing of bread and that whole process, let alone the roads that it had to be transported on and who surfaced those roads and the income and resources that came from that supplied families and hopes and dreams of so many, to eventually winding up at a market and the different types of breads, and of course the whole marketing industry of this bread is better than that bread, or healthier, has better taste, and the whole industry of marketing and all the lawyers. All these things for me to one day wind up at a store to buy some bread that then supports my community and people that work there, and eventually this morning to have a piece of toast. And that somehow the lives of all these other beings contributed to me having some nourishment this morning. Quite astonishing, the efforts of so many. If I'm paying attention, or I could just be in a hurry to get some toast, get it down, get on with the day, and not even recognize that as I'm going upstairs to this room that I record in, this is a home I get to live in, and I walk upstairs. This house I live in was built by my wife, and literally with her own hands, and the stairs was some repurposed wood, and I can notice that I get to walk upstairs in a house that I get to live in that shelters me, and walk on these steps were crafted by my wife, and the wood came from trees and was at some place in another home at some point, to wind up here this morning with all of you. Hopefully offering an opportunity to share something that might be might be of value to you. A recognition of the life that you have, the things right in front of you, are quite remarkable if we pay attention. Unfortunately, as we all know, our minds are often on autopilot, and what we attend to, we often have very little choice. Our minds are caught up in the things that we need to do, things that we worry about, things that we might be ruminating on. We might be distracted, not even noticing what we're eating, let alone where it came from or what it's doing to our bodies. We can actually develop the skill to pay attention to what we choose to, instead of being a prisoner of every thought, worry, or fear that arises, of every impulse or distraction that takes us away from a life we're currently living in a day that comes only once. We can be developing and cultivating contentment instead of stress, worry, and fear. We can appreciate the life we have instead of worrying about what we don't have. What we attend to becomes our reality. It totally impacts this experience. If I'm worrying about something I have no control over, what's the experience here? If I just shift that to problem solving, is there something I can do about it, and actively engage in some constructive actions that can help? What's that do? What's my experience? Am I focusing on the one thing that I'm worried about, or am I focusing on all the potentials of things I can do to improve the quality of my life? Or am I appreciating life that I do have? What I attend to becomes my reality. And you can have a choice, if you develop the skill, to just practice more often, attending to life that you do have in the present moments that exist. And you might notice that you are surrounded by astonishing people, amazing experiences. They're already right here, right now. In the house you live in the place you are, and the people right in front of you. I find it worth your time to shift your attention to that a little more often than maybe we normally do. Hope you're up for it. It certainly has been fruitful for me.